This is the final stanza said by the Earth in Ralph Waldo Emerson's poem Earth Song. The Earth is laughing, thinking about how people believe they own her, yet, in the end, all people die and she remains. This is true, and for many of us, this is terrifying. We own nothing in this world, and when we are dead, the world will continue. And by the world, I do not mean the world of human experience and human society. I mean the entire Earth, and beyond that, the entire universe. Go read any history of the world, and I do mean any. The Penguin history of the world, a people's history of the United States, or the rise and fall of the dinosaurs. All of these stories of man and nature take place on the same spinning chunk of rock. All of our stories come from this tiny planet, and back to it they will return. In turn, the Earth will share the same fate. Emerson gives the Earth sentience and possession, but the Earth is nothing more than an unknown footnote in our minor galaxy. The Earth began in the calculated randomness of gravity, and it will be destroyed by its aging star. Like the Earth which holds us, the Sun holds the Earth, and the Sun is held by the Milky Way, an incomprehensibly large house that is an invisible dot in an incalculable universe. When we think of scale, the universe is often where we stop because that is where our knowledge ends. The universe began with the Big Bang and will one day die, frozen in time. Beyond those points, we know nothing. What was before and what lays beyond? Like how the Earth owns us, what owns the universe? Is the universe housed in a network of universes where it is like an atom to us? These scales of time and size worry many of us because we fear not knowing. What will happen that we will never see, and what is that we don't know? This is mistaken thinking. Often we assume that to live longer is to experience longer, or that to be larger is to experience our world and everything beyond. Rather, to live longer or shorter, or to be larger or smaller, is to experience differently, rather than experiencing more or less. The final two lines of Emerson's poem, Fable, observe this. After a mountain insults a squirrel for being small, the squirrel says, "If I cannot carry forests on my back, neither can you crack a nut." The mountain is larger than the squirrel, but that does not mean it experiences the world as a mountain, and also as a squirrel. Because the mountain is so much larger, the world of the squirrel is completely different, like us to a spider. Scale, in this case, is not a linear track from small to large. Size is an incidental relationship between different entities that can explain why those different entities experience existence so disparately. If you became massive, larger than the Earth, or the smallest creature of the undergrowth, your knowledge from human life would do nothing for you. Everything would be too fundamentally different. In his book, The Order of Time, Carlo Rovelli gives an example of how time and size are relative. Imagine you bounce a ball. That ball will have gone up and down to you. But imagine you're a being larger than Earth watching the same ball, where you would have seen the ball move up and down and nothing else. An Earth-sized being, conscious of the revolution of the Earth, will have seen that ball move 18 miles during the second you bounced it. Sometimes I sit up late and watch the stars. They seem to be there forever. Every night I can see the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. It seems like a universal certainty that no matter how much my life changes, the same stars and the same constellations will hang overhead. But, while it may seem like a constant to me, imagine being a consciousness large enough to see the movement in the stars and their swirling galaxies, or experiencing time in such a way that you see the birth, growth, aging, and death of the stars in real time. We don't know much of anything about consciousness and how it works. Because we are humans, and therefore anthropocentric, we assume that consciousness is formed by complex structures in the brain. Perhaps, for humans, this is true, but does consciousness need to exist inside brains, inside bodies, or experience emotions, or be associated with our limited definitions of intelligence? Does all consciousness have to be aware of the universe in the same way we are? People assume that consciousness must be like us, because it is comforting to know the universe is like us. When people talk to me about believing in aliens, they always assume that they are intelligent like us, conscious like us, and interested in us. But an alien life form need not be conscious to time, to space, or emotion like us. It doesn't have to have a body, be carbon-based, or be intelligent on one of our silly scales like IQ. I sometimes dream of what being a consciousness the size of the universe must be like. Would you be everything at once, unable to identify yourself? Is the universe empty? And do you experience the drifting of time? Or are you omnipresent, unable to distinguish between the smallest quark and the largest galactic structure? These are questions and thoughts that ran through my head as I played Everything, a game developed by David O'Reilly where your consciousness fluidly moves between bison, rocks, continents, atoms, and the stars. There is something resembling a narrative in the game, a deeply moving overture of regret, loss, and dying. But that's not what fascinated me. I was taken away into different experiences where time, scale, and self-actualization mutated and twisted into forms I never dreamed of before. The most powerful experience of the game is when you're a galaxy, racing through the empty universe, and you suddenly grow larger and find yourself as an atom, the smallest block of the universe. Differences of experience, consciousness, and being are not linear, but they are fluid, a part of a universe that will never be fully understood by anyone, whether a person, squirrel, atom, galaxy, or the universe itself. One day I will be taken back by the Earth, and Earth will still be here even if we fully destroy the environment through fossil fuels or bomb ourselves out of existence. We don't own this life, or any of this world, even though many of us wish they did, or believe that they do. What I do own is the experience of life, and that is something I will cherish. I will dream of the stars and of love and talk about video games, because everything that we consider important or trivial is a part of our experience, and our experience is all that we own.